What's up? My name is Matthew Stratton. Welcome to the Continue Creating Show. I wanted to do a different kind of show for you today where I give you 3 tips on how to be more creative or how to create more music. So I'm going to cover 3 different tips. I didn't get this show out last month. I've been trying to do a one Continue Creating Show podcast every month for you, and I missed last month, so I made sure to get this one in this month. And I am working up some interviews, or working on getting more interviews for the next couple months. And it's going to be very good. So consider subscribing to this, or, subscribing to the audio only feed. I'll leave links for that in the description. But let's get into this. So I have 3 tips for you today on how to be more creative or how to create more music. The first tip is to set goals. The second tip is to make more time for learning. The third tip is to audit your time. All right, into tip number 1 is to set goals. And what do I mean by set goals in this particular instance is to set goals on, like how many items you want to create. So for example, set a goal to make 3 beats a week, or set a goal to make 1 video a week. These type of goals. Now, what happens when you set these kind of goals is your whole attitude starts to change. And once you have your mind set to a certain goal, you make that goal happen. So for example, if your goal is to make 3 beats a week, you're going to make time in your week to do those 3 beats, no matter what. All right, so we're all busy. We all have families. We all have jobs. We all need to make money. We all have certain things that we have to do. We got to eat, sleep, those type of things. So our time in a day is limited, and our time during a week is limited. So what we got to do is figure out a goal that's realistic for our time. And once we set that goal, we need to make sure that we actually get that goal done. So if our goal is to make 3 beats a week, what we would do is figure out whenever we have time. And I'll kind of cover this a little bit later on, but we need to figure out, okay, I have time 2 hours after work on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So those 3 days, I have 2 hours apiece. So that's going to give me 6 hours to actually make music or make beats, right? So whenever we make that goal, we do what we got to do to get those goals done. So what we got to do is actually create templates, get our space set up, and everything like that beforehand. So we need to prepare our workspace to set, to achieve those goals. So for example, I use the MPC-1, and if I was going to make beats, right, on 3 different days, 2 hours a piece each day, I would have a template set up on the MPC-1 so I can go in and have everything ready for me. I would have the power adapter plugged in. I would have my speakers set up. I'd have my turntable plugged into it. I would have whatever I was going to use to make music with that day already prepared. So all I have to do when I come home from work is to turn on the MPC-1 and actually make a beat. So this is an example of making a goal and following through with it. So, again, if your goal is to make 3 beats a week, you set up time for that, and then you make sure nothing distracts you from achieving that goal. And then, for example, say something comes up on Wednesday and you're not able to do that, then what you do is on Friday or Saturday or some other day during the week, you would find those 2 hours to go ahead and make a beat. So you're still achieving your goal of 3 beats a week. And you do your best to achieve that goal every single week. Now, of course, we're human, things get in the way. Don't beat yourself up too much for not achieving those goals, but make sure, when you do set those goals, you set up your mind that you're going to achieve those goals. Tip number 2 is to make time for learning. As creative people, as music creators, as video creators, whatever it is that we're creating, it's very important that we learn the tools that we're actually using to create with. So I use the MPC-1, right? And the MPC-1 is the MIDI production center. You can make full songs with the MPC-1. And what I do is I actually read the MPC-1 manual. Now, this might not sound too interesting to you, but it is very important to learn what your tool is. Now, there are other ways to learn as well. You could take courses, you could read through apps, you could watch YouTube videos. There are different ways to learn your tool, but it is very important to actually learn what you're using, right? If I was going to make a video, I need to learn about video cameras, lighting, audio. There's certain things I have to learn about to make a video. If I'm making a song or a beat on the MPC-1, again, I need to learn about how to use the MPC-1. I need to learn about what sounds are, what drums are, there's a lot that goes into it, really. You got to learn what the instruments are, you got to learn music theory. That's another thing that I'm starting to go into right now is what is music theory, right? Because whenever I sit down on my MPC, I need to be able to hear what key I'm in. I need to be able to hear what notes match the sample I'm using. I need to be able to hear these things, right? So I need to set time to train my ear, to train myself on the MPC, to train myself in music theory. And I think that's very, very important to set time aside to learn music theory. Now, this is going to be different than setting a goal to, make 3 beats a week. This is like a whole separate thing. Because what this is going to do is enable us to actually get in there, and while we're making those beats, we don't have to worry about learning or figuring things out. We just go in there and are creative for the time we set aside. So if we set aside 2 hours a day to make a beat, we just make a beat for 2 hours and that's it. We're not learning the machine. We're not spending time doing whatever. We set time aside for learning, and we set aside a time for creating. And they're like two different things. Yeah, of course, there's going to be some overlap, but they're really two different things, because you don't want to be worrying about learning stuff while you're creating. You want to have time where you could just go in there and make a beat. And you want to have time where you actually learn how to make a beat, or you learn theory to how, to design chords, or how to design melodies and harmonies and what are passing chords and these type of things. You need to learn these kind of things, right? Because if you're a beat maker, you're a music producer, these are the tools that you have to create music. A lot of people, whenever they reach a certain age, they don't take a lot of time to learn. Of course, you have to continue to learn every day, but a lot of people, they don't put time aside to learn. And I think that is very important, to set time aside to actually learn how to make music. All right, so tip 1 is to set goals. Tip 2 is to continue to learn. Tip 3 is to audit your time, so you know when you have time to be creative and to learn. Now, a lot of us already know certain times where we spend time doing things that we could probably use to make beats. For example, we probably look on Instagram for so many, minutes of the day, maybe 30 minutes a day. We're just scrolling through Instagram. That could be time that we're making beats, right? There might be 30 minutes a day where we're just watching mindless YouTube videos that have nothing to do with making beats, right? That could be 30 minutes where you're actually making a beat. So when you're auditing your time, certain things are going to be completely obvious to you, right? Now, there's going to be other things that you might not even be aware of, where you have some time that you can fit being creative into. And what you should probably do is take an entire day, say your typical work day, for example, Monday through Friday, pretty much revolve around the same thing. Take one of those days, take a Wednesday, for example, audit your time, everything that you do from the morning to night. Write down what you're doing, right? Get a little notepad, keep it with you. From, 12 to 1, I went to lunch. 45 minutes of that time I spent on my phone, 15 minutes I spent eating, right? So now you have, for example, if your lunch was an hour at work, you have 45 minutes where you could potentially be learning something, or you could potentially download an app on your phone and make a beat. There's certain things that you can do, right? So for example, like, let's say when you get home, you spend 45 minutes watching Netflix, and then spend 45 minutes watching YouTube, and then there's like certain things that you're doing right when you get home from work. You would write all that down, like whatever it is you do. I don't know your your specific routine. I'm just giving you an example of these are certain things that we could actually look at. Like, okay, do I really need to watch Walking Dead for 4 hours after work today, or whatever the example might be? So the answer is probably going to be no, you don't need to. Or maybe you need to wind down for a few minutes, right? I understand that, right? But the idea is when you're spending a lot of time on something that's not really productive, you can replace that with making beats, or replace that with actually learning. All right, so basically what you would do is at the end of the day, after you wrote everything down, you would find those areas, those little gaps, and then that way, the next week when you decide, okay, I want to make 3 beats, you can go, well, I have 2 hours here, or I have 45 minutes here, or I have, this much time here or there, and start actually doing something productive with those times, right? Hopefully some of these tips are helpful for you, and hopefully you can be more productive and make more music. Really, that's the goal. It's to make more music, be more creative, spend more time actually creating, and that's going to make you happier. You're a creative person. Being creative makes some of us feel happy, right? So let's continue to do those awesome positive things. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. I do have some interviews lined up that I'm going to do over 2021. 2020 has been great. I have had a lot of great guests on the Continue Creating Show, and I'm going to continue to have more guests in the future. And I really want to get people on here. Hopefully they inspire you. Hopefully you can get a little bit of insight to people's stories. And, hopefully we can really continue to create music and be creative people. It's really an awesome gift that we have, is to be able to create things. All right. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Consider subscribing, and look in the description for the link to either the video version of this or the audio version of this, whatever one you prefer, because I do release these on audio only, and I do release them on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being a part of my journey. My name is Matthew, and I really hope you have a great holiday season. I hope everything is well for you. Until next time, we'll talk soon. I'm out.